We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It is, what is it, Wednesday. And this podcast is going to be live on TikTok as well. We've done this before. Actually, I already started it out once tonight, and I lost Wi Fi or some bullshit. I don't know exactly. So I'm going to give it another try. I'm back on live right now. We're going to start getting people coming back, and we can start addressing some questions and some comments and that sort of thing. Um, I'm in a weird situation. I'm in Savannah, of course, and I'm using equipment that I don't normally use, and I'm using Wi-Fi that I don't normally use. And so it makes it a little tougher and things can be a little sketchy. So I had to shut the first live down, shut the first attempt at the podcast down, and here we are. So, for those of you coming back on the TikTok live, I want to welcome you back. We had some problems before. I think it was on my end, it was with the Wi Fi, it wasn't working properly. And so, we're going to give it another try. And by the grace of God, we'll get through this, spend about an hour talking about some of the things that are happening. And there's a lot of shit happening. Of course, the big news is this big hurricane that's headed for Florida. It's Milton, and it's headed um, broadside at Florida's west coast off the uh, Gulf Coast. Now, what's interesting about this, we haven't seen a hurricane of this size coming from this direction in over 100 years. It was 1921 when it happened last. And this could be absolutely devastating, catastrophic, some people are saying. Last report, it was a Cat 5. I don't know that it'll be a Cat 5 by the time it reaches Florida, but it's coming closer and closer as we speak. We've got Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening is, I think, when it's supposed to make landfall. Then it's supposed to go continually across the state. Now, I'm not that far away. Alan Ramsey saying, "Are you in Florida?" I am not in Florida. I'm in Georgia. I'm in Savannah, Georgia, which is southern Florida. And from what I can tell about Milton's cone, by the way they're showing how this is going to go, we're outside of that cone. Shouldn't affect us that much, thankfully. But my heart goes out to the people in Florida that are dealing with this situation. I can't even imagine how difficult it is when you think about it. I mean, you've got to get out of there to save your life. And then on top of it, you've got to wonder what's going to happen to your property. Are you going to have a home to go to? I um I don't even know how to comprehend that. That's crazy. And my heart goes out to you folks in Florida. Get the hell out of there and let's hope for the best. That's all we can really do at this point. As I say, I'm in Georgia and I'm leaving Thursday morning to get back to Minnesota. I don't know what effects there's going to be here in Savannah. Probably not much because we're outside the cone. I will tell you this, though. I was at Tybee Island right on the ocean. And while it was nice and fine, it was a lot windier than we thought it was, that it is normally. It was a lot windier and the waves were a lot higher than normal. And see, that's the thing, as I understand it. When this hurricane goes across, people on the East Coast think they might be safe, and they're not. There's still going to be a surge coming from the east on the east side as well, and that could creep up as far as Tybee Island in Georgia, not to the extent that what we would see in Florida. Now, this thing seems to be tracking more south, which I would say is a good thing if you're in northern Florida, but not a good thing for those people in South Florida. Um, People are saying, "Stay safe, my friend." Well, yeah, I will stay safe. I'm fine. I'm not worried about us right now. I'm really worried about the folks out there. Um, Worried about the folks that are going to be going through that. Now, there are people saying we are staying and waiting out the storm in Central Florida. Well, Cheryl Ann, that's your prerogative, but and I've never been through a hurricane, so I don't know what to expect. We've had tornadoes in Minnesota. The thing is with tornadoes, they come and they come through very quickly. They do their damage and then they move on. Trouble with a hurricane, it can stick around for a while and the damage is more widespread. So I'm concerned about it. So Cheryl Ann, please be safe as you're staying in Florida. Uh, Shane says Harris will landslide Trump on November 5th. I've been saying this for a while, and now some other people are coming out and saying, well, I think that Harris might win big. The fact of the matter is you can listen to polls, you can listen to the media, you can listen to all the bullshit that they're claiming, but the facts tell us otherwise. I think polls are a manipulation of the people, trying to keep it close so that they think they can give Donald Trump a chance. Let's understand about the polls. Who owns the polls? Generally wealthy people. And what's their agenda? Their agenda typically is MAGA. They want to see Donald Trump win, so they got to feel like they keep him in the race. And then the media takes this information as if it's gospel, even though they've known that these have been wrong over and over again. But they know that creating this tight battle is going to mean more ratings for them. So all these fucking people are just doing a manipulation. Donald Trump is the worst presidential candidate in the history of this country. He's got more baggage. He's got convictions. He constantly says stupid stuff, egregious stuff. And Kamala Harris is probably the most popular presidential candidate in history. If you just take those two facts, how do you say this race is tight? Then you throw in the fact that he overturned Roe v. Wade. 50% of this country is having constitutional rights taken away from them. 75% of this country supports Roe v. Wade. Please tell me how it's fucking close. It just isn't. Cheryl Ann says, I was born and raised in Florida. I'm 63. Well, we're peers then, because I'm 64, born and raised in Minnesota, just different parts of the country. Triple Dude says, greetings, Mike. Thank you very much. Betty says, people need to get out and vote and vote. Absolutely. That is the key here. We're obviously not getting any help from the DOJ. We're not getting help from the courts. We're not getting help from the government, certainly not the Republicans. It all comes down to us. You know, we hire these people, we elect these people to do our bidding. But then they don't do shit. In fact, they work against us. So it's left all up to us right here. We've got to vote in November, and I have no question in my mind that we are going to see a turnout even bigger than 2020, and that was a record. It's going to be bigger than 2020. People went out and voted in 2020 and voted for Joe Biden, not because at the time Joe Biden was an amazing candidate. It was because they were terrified and they hated Donald Trump. Do you think that terror has gone down any? Do you think less people hate Donald Trump? Well, I say no. So it only makes sense that people are worried about this election and they will get out in force, in mass, and vote against this dumb fuck. This race will be close because it's not about policy with Trump. This race will not be closed because it's all about Trump. And Trump is a fucking absolute failure. Mr. Minnesota, I'm scared for those people who can't leave. No money, no car, no family, just nowhere to go. Yeah. You make a good point there. It's real easy to say, get in your brand new car and drive and get a hotel. Well, that's not as easy for people as you might think. There are a lot of people, young people especially, that are struggling just to survive day to day. And to tell them they have to leave their homes and go someplace else, get in the traffic, try to get gas when gas is short. What do? You're right, Beth. I feel for those folks. It's a troubling situation, and this is, what I've talked about before. I did a TikTok about a woman I saw in a pizza shop. She was working there by herself, struggling to make a buck. Her kids were sitting in the same restaurant, a 4-year-old adorable girl and a newborn baby who was taking care of the newborn baby. The fact that this woman had to do that just to fucking survive, that should not be happening in this country. No way, no how. It should not happen. I've been saying analytical Iowan. Eric, you know Eric, he's been on the podcast many times. He's saying, I've been saying Harris will win big since she entered the race. And he's right. He has been saying that. I've been saying it too, especially when we saw the enthusiasm around Kamala Harris. We haven't seen enthusiasm like that around any presidential candidate any time in my memory. That's why I say she's probably the most popular presidential candidate you'll find. Candy, your speak is always so understandable. Well, I appreciate that. I think that comes from um, me needing it in simple terms. I need to explain it to myself in simple terms. And in my past life, I was a play-by-play announcer for sports. I did traffic reports, and when I did the traffic reports, I had to watch what was going on the video screens and then somehow put it together and explain it simply to people in quick fashion. I think too many people go into communications and they want to act fancy and they want to impress people. If you truly want to communicate to somebody, you tell somebody as efficiently as you can what they need to know and as quickly as you can. And if you have to play games and play like you're some some somebody with a huge vocabulary to impress people, you're not accomplishing what you're trying to accomplish. Um, Mrs. Rufus, my cousin moved to Sarasota a couple of months ago. She's inland 8 miles. She's from Colorado and never experienced this. It's got to be absolutely terrifying for her. The idea that she's got to leave her home just to stay safe is absolutely terrifying. I just can't imagine what these people in Florida are going through. It's horrific. And I've always said I'm not a big fan of Florida because they've been such big Trump supporters. But this isn't about politics. This isn't about partisanship. This is about American people and their lives and their safety. And we should all be concerned about this. We should all be praying for them. And the fact of the matter is, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are doing all they can to get them the help they need. Joe Biden sent out declarations prior to Helene hitting and prior to Milton hitting. And then we have to sit back and listen to Republicans say that Joe Biden and FEMA are doing nothing. That's absolute bullshit. That's just not fucking true. The leader from FEMA is now begging with people, stop doing this. You're hurting people. You're scaring people. And apparently Republicans don't give a fuck. They don't fucking care. They don't care if people die as long as their agenda gets pushed forward. Um, we've got some uh, Trumplefucks out there. TJ the plumber is our moderator, and he's going to be watching for all these people. I'm going to be watching for some people, and I'm going to be blocking some motherfuckers too, because this isn't about your little stupid fucking agenda. We don't care what you have to say. You're you're um, you're inconsequential at this point. You're going to lose this election, and you fucking deserve it. TJ the plumber moderator says great captain is here. He's another moderator that does a hell of a job, and I need to call them out. TJ the plumber, great captain. They have been moderators on past lives, and they've done an incredible job, and I appreciate their efforts. They don't get a lot of recognition for it, and they should. Brody Human, thank you for having a reasonably intelligent voice on this platform. Well, I appreciate that. It doesn't actually take that much intelligence. It just takes the willingness to be honest. And this is the problem we have with our media. This is the problem we have with polls. And this is the problem we have with politicians. They don't tell you the truth. They tell you what you want to hear so that you react and so that they can manipulate you. Okay. I found a few Trumplefucks out here. Great Captain and TJ. Just want you to know I'm helping out here. When I see these dumb motherfuckers, they are gone. Somebody said, what's up with Ron DeSantis's face? I only saw him a couple times on television, and he does look a little off. But I guess you'd be off too if you went through the primaries, got your ass kicked, had Donald Trump call you out. He's probably got people after him. Now we don't know if he's Donald Trump's buddy now or what the fuck. Uh, Ron DeSantis can't run for reelection as governor of the state of Florida. I would say his political career is pretty much over and good riddance. That motherfucker deserves to go by the wayside. Um, I find it really interesting how the Trumplafucks come out here and they say, Trump 2024. Who fucking cares? Let's see if you win the election. You're not going to win the election. You're getting your ass kicked. And then again, after the fact, you're going to be inconsequential. You don't matter anymore. Your Lord and Savior will be fucking done. So fuck you. Gates says he won't cooperate anymore. Cooperate with the FBI? Yeah, Gates has got some issues going on too. And don't be surprised if in after the election, Gates gets some calls or maybe an indictment for the insurrection too, because he was in the thick of that motherfucking thing as well. Um, this person says, I think the long plan is for Heritage Foundation to get Trump in and then replace him with JD. At one point, I would have said, well, that's a conspiracy theory. That's silly. But I don't believe that anymore. I think you're absolutely right. I think they're using Donald Trump to get the votes and get elected and then kick his ass out. He won't last another 4 years anyway, and then have JD Vance as president. How do you feel about Elon Musk? I think Elon Musk is a dipshit. Everybody tried to tell me that he was the smartest guy on earth. Well, he took Twitter, took it from a value of $44 billion, and now it's down to 10. He's siding with Donald Trump when he knows well and good that Donald Trump is going to lose. Elon Musk and the other tech bros are pushing Donald Trump for the very reason we were talking about before. They want to get Donald Trump in so that they can kick him to the curb and make JD Vance. JD Vance is one of those tech bros. They can manipulate him. These high powered tech motherfuckers want to control this country, and we're not going to let them do that. They're not going to fucking accomplish that. They bought in, they're betting on the wrong fucking horse. All right, what's this say? Should the government take a good look at Elon Musk? Absolutely. And I think they are taking a good look at Elon Musk. Elon's got some problems. And when Donald Trump is dispensed with and the Republicans no longer have power, Elon better be looking over his shoulder because he might very well be one of the people that's going to be subpoenaed and ultimately indicted. And he probably should be. This guy is not a good guy. All right. This person says Trump will lose and go down in history as the worst president and stupid president. Well, he will go down as the worst and the most and the stupidest president. There's no question. And he will definitely lose. Donald Trump's name, well, he'll be a pariah. He'll be the butt of people's jokes. And all the people that follow him will also be jokes. Just remember that, Trump LaFox. You're betting on the wrong horse. You're going to lose again. Keep in mind, Donald Trump hasn't won an election since 2016. And on that one, he fucking cheated. So don't get too confident that he's going to win this one. You told us he would win 2020, and he didn't. He got his ass kicked. Bam Bam TikTok says, I don't use, fuck. Sorry, this thing keeps moving pretty fast. And it just takes off on me. I get the comments and they're coming by pretty quick. Bam Bam TikTok says, I don't use his name anymore. I call him Don Old Trimp since he mispronounces Kamala all the time. Yeah, I don't blame him. RLP says, I think there's a pretty good chance he's going to wind up in jail. What are your thoughts? I think there's no question he'll wind up in jail. He's already been convicted 34 times, and some of these trials that will come up after the election will require jail. He will certainly be convicted. See, that's the thing. Donald Trump wanted to delay everything because he thought he was going to win the election. I think it's now coming into his mind that he's not going to win the election. And all of a sudden, he's going to come out of the November 5th election, getting his ass kicked. And now he's going to be in his most vulnerable state. He won't be able to get the protection he's had before, and he won't have the support of the Republicans because he just lost another fucking race for them. What's going to happen is he's going to get hammered with these trials. He's going to get convicted and he will go to jail because the depth at what he's gone to and the crimes he's committed call for they call for jail, and he will go to jail. Elon is buddying up with Bank Trump to get a pardon because he knows he fucked up. That may be, but if Elon Musk is smart, he's got to know that he's not going to win. I mean, this is why the desperation is so bad with these fucks. They know if Donald Trump loses, they're all fucked. Why is Trump saying he doesn't need votes to win? What is he planning? Well, I will tell you this, Giovanni. Um, Donald Trump's not smart enough to plan anything. He's an emotional fucking wreck. He reacts to everything. This is what narcissists do. They act like they don't need your help. They don't need anything because they've got it covered. He does. He doesn't have anything planned. There are other people with things that are planned to try to steal the election, but these are all the same things that he did in 2020. He was president at the time and he failed at them. This time around, everybody knows what to expect. Kamala Harris has hired 10 times as many lawyers as they had in 2020. He can try, but Donald Trump is a failure. He's never been successful at anything other than winning the 2016 election, and he couldn't have fucking done that without Vladimir Putin. All right, moving on. Why is Trump saying, okay, we've got that. Should everyone not a Democrat be indicted? Um, so this person is saying, should all Republicans be indicted? And no Democrats. Well, it's funny you should mention that. There have been Democrats indicted. How about Robert Menendez? We indicted him. The Democrats kicked him out of Congress. You didn't do that. So this guy says, I'm sorry. I have to go back and read this. Oh, Jesus Christ, the Trumplafucks are out in force. Y'all blocked. We don't fucking care. TJ and Great Captain, we got a ton of them out there. So keep me posted as to how we're doing with that. Um, he'll lose, but Trump's base is still here. And if he loses, he'll still have power in Congress. No, he won't. Without question, the Democrats are going to win the House, and there's an excellent chance they'll win the Senate. Donald Trump will lose. Kamala will be the president. We will have control of the House and probably the Senate too. So you can listen to what you want to listen to in media, but it's all bullshit. What are your thoughts about Trump talking to Putin at least 8 times behind America's back? Well, that's a good question. That came out in a preview of Bob Woodward's book. Bob Woodward is of Watergate reporter fame. He's also an author. He interviewed Donald Trump while Donald Trump was president. Bob Woodward has said that while was interviewing Donald Trump at least 7 or 8 times, Donald Trump had to excuse himself to go to a private room to talk to Vladimir Putin. Why would you do that? Vladimir Putin leads an adversarial country, not a friend to this country at all. Somebody also suggested that during COVID, remember COVID? The thing that Donald Trump claimed was a hoax, said it would go away, that it was no big deal. Well, apparently Vladimir Putin was concerned enough during the COVID pandemic that he convinced Donald Trump to do him a solid and send him some COVID test strips. Remember how hard they were to get a hold of? Well, apparently Donald found enough and was able to send them to Vladimir Putin. Donald Trump always says, oh, Russia, 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 it was a hoax. we were exonerated. Donald Trump was not exonerated by the Mueller report. In fact, in the Mueller report, there were 10 separate examples of him obstructing justice. And then they'll say, well, why wasn't he indicted? Well, because he was a sitting president. You know that as well as anybody. He could be indicted for it after he was no longer president. So, over and above all the things he did, he can be indicted for those obstruction cases too. And they're both, all of them are uh, 20 years penalties. I'm just blocking some more of these fucks. I'm tired of them. You know what I should say to you, Trumplefucks, is you have gotten to the point where you're inconsequential. You don't matter. You're just fucking noise in the ether. That's all you are. Nobody's listening to you. Nobody trusts you. Nobody believes you. You don't have any common sense. You're following a lemming off the fucking off the cliff. And good riddance to you. What are you going to do when Donald Trump loses and goes to jail? Who are you going to support then? Who's going to be your Lord and Savior? Still Donald Trump? It's tiresome dealing with Trump-Levox. I know that people spend a lot of time debating them, and frankly, it's not worth the time. They can't learn anything. They can't comprehend facts or truth. So why waste your time? Like I say, after the election and after they lose power in Congress, they're not important. They don't matter. They're inconsequential. Bill Lewis says all Republicans that was involved in any way of January 6th should be uh, indicted. Well, I think that's going to happen. I think after the election, you're going to see sitting members of Congress or members of Congress that have just not been reelected. Uh, I think you're going to find them getting some indictments. Kathleen Ledger says 3 weeks after the election, he will be sentenced. That's absolutely right. Donald Trump will be sentenced for the Manhattan District 34 felony convictions 3 weeks after the election. Funny thing is, why are they doing it 3 weeks after the election? Some people are thinking that this judge is without question going to put him in jail for a period of time. And for my money, it doesn't matter how long. He won't last a week in there. He won't last a week. But if he gets 2 years, 3 years, or whatever, then it's just going to be a free for all, tearing Donald Trump apart in trial after trial. Does Trump have a concept on how to fill job vacancies due to his mass deportations? The idea that he thinks suggesting that he's going to have mass deportations is going to get him votes, absolutely fucking stupid. I mean, I'm sure the Republicans even know this. I can't imagine any Republican that knows anything like Mitch McConnell believes Donald Trump will win. They just can't. Donald Trump has done absolutely everything wrong. All you have to do is let Donald Trump talk and he will destroy himself. And he continues to prove me right. Um, Somebody says, TJ the plumber, dude, don't take our fun away. Listen, we're not leaving Trump LaFox in here because I'll tell you what happens. You can argue with them forever and get nowhere. But once you get these Trump LaFox, like these infestation of bed bugs is what they are, then they go crying and whining to TikTok and then they take you down. So it's not TJ or Great Captain or even me ruining your fun, getting rid of these people. Is trying to protect the platform so people like us can continue to talk about the truth. Do you believe they're going to get rid of Trump so the other idiot can be president? I don't believe they're going to have the opportunity. They'd have to win the race in order to do that, and there's no way they're going to fucking win. So they may be planning that, but it's all for naught because they don't know what the fuck they're doing and they don't have a prayer in the election. Why aren't they collecting any of the money that he owes in the case he lost? Well, they have collected some money. He's had to put up a bond to the tune of $275 million for E. Jean Carroll and for Letitia James. That money's in an account that he cannot touch. But when that appeal that he's currently in for the Letitia James lawsuit, $450 million, when he loses that appeal, and he will lose that appeal, Um, he's going to have to come up with all the money. And guess what? If he doesn't come up with all the money, Letitia James and E. Jean Carroll are going to start taking his shit and then watch him lose his shit. He will never go above his 46% base. Well, Mickey Peters, I will tell you this, he doesn't have a 46% base. He's lucky if it's between 25 and 30%. That's really his base, and he's losing ground as we speak. Mark Cuban said Trump doesn't have any money. Mark's friends had to sue Trump to get $4 million back. Well, I would trust Mark Cuban over anybody else, any of the wealthy people. Mark Cuban seems to be the most down to earth. I'm not saying you can trust anybody with a ton of money, but if you're going to have to trust one, it would be Mark Cuban. And I think Mark Cuban sees what's going on here. He understands what's really happening, and he's got the courage to speak the truth. He's got enough money where he doesn't have to bow to Donald Trump. He's got more money than Donald Trump. Fucking anybody's got more money. Jack Smith for AG. I don't know if it's going to be Jack Smith, but I can almost assure you that when Kamala becomes president, Merrick Garland's going to be looking for a job. Merrick Garland is supposed to be a very respected jurist, but as an attorney general, he's an absolute fucking failure. He sat on Donald Trump for 2 years, and the fact that he did that is why we're in this bullshit right now, because he refused to do something. He was worried about looking too political. But in the process of trying to avoid looking political, he started looking political. I don't know. I'm frustrated with Merrick Garland. I'm sure he's a nice guy. I'm sure he's a smart guy, but he doesn't have the stuff to be an attorney general. We need somebody who understands the rule of law and is willing to hold everybody accountable. Merrick Garland continually says no one's above the law. Well, Merrick Garland, I say bullshit because you proved otherwise. Um, have you seen the commercial about abortion? Lincoln Wright's commercial now playing. I've seen a lot of the commercials. I don't know that I've seen that one, but they're all great. Jake and Jen, I'm so disappointed in the relationship and brought out true identity of people that I once loved. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think all of us at one point or another have lost family members. I know I have. What I found the most disconcerting when Donald Trump became president is the fact that we have far more stupid people, gullible people, manipulative people, or people that can be manipulated in this country than I ever imagined. It's absolutely frightening that there are these many stupid people out here. Do you honestly think he will eventually end up in prison? How does he not? How does he not end up in prison? We're talking about potential treason coming out of the Washington, D.C. election interference case. We're talking about stealing classified documents and disseminating them to adversarial countries. How do we not? Georgia, we've got him committing the crime on audio. How does he not go to jail? I mean, especially since he's already got 34 more convictions, it's almost imperative that he goes to jail if he's found guilty. Will he surrender peacefully when they cart him off to jail? Did he surrender peacefully when he lost the fucking election? No. He's going to be crying and whining. You know what I imagine Donald Trump being like? Remember Jim Baker, that evangelist who got taken down because he was a grifter? When they found him, when they FBI went to grab him, he was curled under his desk in the fetal position crying. That's what I expect with Donald Trump. The only difference is he will have a full diaper in the fucking process. Um, let's see here. No, I think we're going to have a lot of issues. Well, yeah, there are going to be a lot of issues. That's what I've told folks. Once we win the election, that doesn't mean it's over and that all's good. They put us deep into a fucking hole that we've got to dig out of. But the first and foremost important thing is that we win the election so we can start digging. If we don't win the election, we can't dig out of the hole. We'll just dig fucking deeper. Some people think he'll get house arrest. Maybe, but where's his house going to be? After Letitia James takes all his money, is he going to be able to afford Mar-a-Lago? or get him a fucking refrigerator box and put it on Daytona Beach and he can be under house arrest there. Will Kamala be able to do something about the stupid Supreme Court? Yeah, she'll be able to do something about it. There's going to be a lot of things done with the Supreme Court. It almost has to be done with the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is one of the three branches of government. If one of those branches isn't working properly or is corrupt, we have trouble maintaining our democracy. What is his true net worth? Sammy, you're talking about Donald Trump? Well, I don't know about financially, but morally and intellectually, he ain't worth shit. People are saying vote and make sure that you give Kamala the House and the Senate. That is absolutely crucial. It's one thing for Donald Trump to lose in a landslide, but the Republicans need to be kicked out of the House and the Senate. We need Kamala to have enough power to get the things she wants done. I mean, that's the one thing everybody does. Well, what did the president do? Well, what did you do to provide the proper Congress to help him do it? Because it's not just the president that makes all these decisions. It's Congress that passes the bill, approves the money. He can kind of direct it or she can kind of direct it, but it takes Congress. So getting the Republicans out of the House and the Senate are almost just as important as kicking Donald Trump to the curb. Do you think a civil war is possible? No, I don't. I think these people love to talk their shit. They love to talk tough, but they're in a far different situation than they were in 2020. Remember, Donald Trump was the president then, and they wanted to attack the Capitol, and they failed while he was president. But now Joe Biden's president. Kamala Harris will be president. We'll have a new Congress as of January 3rd, and it will be Democratic. These people can talk a tough game, but they're bullies, which means they're cowards. They ain't doing shit. Bluebird said, I just mailed my ballot in yesterday. Or Kamala, thank you. I thought if you lay someone to rest in your property, that you are exempt to pay taxes. Are you talking about the golf course? I don't know what the deal with that is. There could be any number of deals, but that's such a small fucking thing. Who cares? Who cares? I want him to go down for the crimes he's committed, all these little piddly crimes. There's going to be so many piddly crimes after this is done. He could be in court for the rest of his life, and he probably will. Jennifer says, put him in confinement. He spent our FEMA money on. Not a bad idea. Trump would bring a boatload of trash with him. Yeah. Fucking trash is right when we're talking about Donald Trump. Ellen says, I'm not sure how this works, but if Donnie gets locked up, is Kamala the only way to get him pardoned? Pretty much. I mean, if he gets jailed for his crimes in Georgia, then the governor can pardon him. But any federal crimes, they would have to be pardoned by the president. And I don't think Kamala's going to do that. I just don't think she will. Kavanaugh bombshell will go nowhere. Why? I don't know that it will go nowhere for those people who haven't heard. There's news coming out that the investigation in the confirmation of Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court never happened. The FBI never did an investigation. And the interesting thing is, it turns out that Donald Trump stopped that investigation. Now, all the Republicans said, we're voting for Kavanaugh because he was cleared by the FBI. No, he wasn't. He wasn't cleared. There was a lot of people there was a lot of evidence and there were a lot of witnesses, but the FBI never saw them because Donald Trump shut it down. That has to be addressed. We can't afford to have somebody on the Supreme Court that they themselves are criminals. So there should be another investigation. Will that investigation happen? Well, that investigation probably will happen. And maybe one of the things that Kamala does to fix the situation on the Supreme Court, but it's not going to come until after she's inaugurated on January 20th, 2025. Biden can remove the corrupt Supreme Court justices as official duty for national security. That may be. I don't know that for sure, to be perfectly honest with you. But if he's going to do something like that, it's going to happen at some point between January 3rd and January 20th. And if he's going to do something like that, it would be perfect for him to do that. That way, the heat won't get on Kamala Harris. It'll be after the new Congress is in, and he's got 17 days to ride out his presidency, and he could pull something like that off. I don't know if that is an option for him, to be honest with you. I don't know enough about that law to say for sure, but it sure would be nice if that were true. Ellen's Mellon said, "Is it true that crimes in Georgia, if guilty, is mandatory 5 years? No ifs or buts." Yeah, that's how I understand it. It is a mandatory 5 year sentence. And here's the deal: whether it's 5 years or 20 years, how much time does Donald Trump have? He's 78 years old. He's not in the best health, mentally or physically. Put him in a jail cell and he'll fucking crack up. I don't care if he's put in for 1 year or 100 years. He's done once he goes to jail. Donald Trump won't know what to do with himself. He'll be terrified. Why is Mike Pence hiding? I don't know that he is hiding, but if I were him, I would, because all this stuff that came out that he said in this Jack Smith thing, there is no doubt some crazy fucks out there looking for him for some revenge. Blair Cohen says, mailed my ballot here in Pennsylvania last week and got an email confirming receipt 2 days later. Good for you. Good job. You people are out of control. I can only imagine that that is a Trumplafuck who is no longer with us. Thank you and goodbye, Trumplafucks. Separation of powers. No, Biden can't remove Supreme Court officials. You may be right about that. There is separation of powers. I, I it would even on an executive order. I don't think he can do that. If it were possible, I would hope he would, but uh, Rich is probably correct. What do you think of Trump talking to Putin 5 times? It was like 7 times, actually. Well, it's very suspicious because every time he talks to Putin, he doesn't want anybody in the room, and that just doesn't happen with presidents. Why would you, as a head of a country, the United States, talk to the head of an enemy country? That is very suspect. That is troubling, and that needs to be looked at. MTG, man-made hurricanes. Yeah, MTJ suggesting that Democrats control the weather. Well, isn't that interesting? Fucking amazing. Wrote postcards, donated a lot, doing everything I can to get Kamala elected. Thank you, Patricia. I appreciate that. She's out in New York. That's the one thing we're seeing about Kamala. There's a lot of people getting on board. At last report, there's 400,000 um, volunteers working for her throughout the country. There's probably more than that now. Quite a few less than the Republicans. They don't have that kind of help. How about him sending Putin a COVID test? Yeah, absolutely. I was talking about that earlier. During the COVID pandemic, the thing that Donald Trump said was no big deal and was a hoax. He did Putin a solid by sending him some COVID tests. You probably remember how tough they were to get back then, but apparently Vladimir Putin got them when you and I couldn't get them. Me too, handing out pearls to my lady friends. I don't. Okay, you know what? That sounds fucked up to me. I'm sorry if it's not, but that's a ridiculous comment, and I can only imagine what you meant by that, you stupid fuck. MAGA expires in 28 days. Yeah, that's the interesting thing about Donald Trump. He kept wanting to put things off. And this is what narcissists do. They put it off. They think, I'm going to be able to figure this out by then. So it's no problem. Just put it off. But inevitably, when it comes to a narcissist, it never works out. The end comes, and then they're fucking surprised. Donald Trump's got to be squirming a little bit because he hasn't figured it out yet. He hasn't found a way to fix his situation. And 28 days, that goes pretty fucking quickly. And Donald Trump's going to be in trouble. Both Tennessee senators were texting Giuliani on January 6th. I hope they are on Jack Smith's list. That's possible. There's a lot of people on Jack Smith's list. There's not only sitting members of Congress, there's his chief of staff. We know Jim Jordan talked to Donald Trump before, during, and after the insurrection. So he's got a problem. Then there's Ginny Thomas, Clarence Thomas's wife. There's all kinds of fucks that are probably in a position to get their shit taken away. Will Jill Stein be a problem for Kamala? Absolutely fucking not. Every time she's run, she's never been a problem for anything. Jill Stein is a fucking joke. Let's see here. Just imagine we are now in a world where folks actually believe there could be a Democrat as president. Well, yeah, I don't think there's any question. There's no way Donald Trump wins. The facts tell us differently than what the polls might say. You think you ran, well, I don't want to read that. We need Kamala or life as we know it and love is over. Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for that. I think if Donald Trump becomes president, everything about this country is at risk, especially democracy. And once we lose democracy, we lose a certain amount of freedom. It's ironic that Donald Trump will continue to talk about freedom when what he wants to do is take away the freedom. He's already taken away freedom, bodily autonomy from 50% of this country, meaning women, by overturning Roe v. Wade. He says he wants to offer freedom to people, but then he does what he does and he takes away freedom from folks. He's a fucking liar. He's a pathological liar. And if you can't recognize that he's a pathological liar, then you are either evil or fucking stupid. Um, Carol says, I love your commentary. Thank you. Thank you. Do you think anything will happen to Don Jr. and Ivanka? Yeah, I do. Because, well, at least Ivanka and Kushner were in the White House while this was going on. Ivanka was a witness. She was in the room with Donald Trump when he was threatening Mike Pence. I think they could significantly be affected, possible indictments, or they may be forced to testify against their father. Don Jr., they could bust him for anything, fucking coke, anything. That's just a big ass goofball. All right. Just check out Project 45. If he wins, we are in a load of trouble. It's Project 2025. And I'm not worried about Project 2025 because he needs to win in order for it to happen. We need a Republican Congress. That's not going to happen. So, and they're all running away from it now. They know what people think of it, and the vast majority of people in this country do not like Project 2025, and they're going to go back and tear it up and regroup and try to come back with something else. All Trump has is racism and racist Americans and all hate groups, and is about 35% of Americans leave 65%. Yeah, I think 35% is probably a high guess. I'm thinking more between 26 and 30% when it's all said and done. Dr. Lee said he's a sociopath, narcissist, malignant narcissist. I'd have to agree. I grew up with a father who was a sociopath, a malignant narcissist, and what's the other thing? A sociopath, malignant narcissist, and pathological liar. I had a father that was like that, so I know, I I know what they look like. And Donald Trump is the epitome. Trump is dodging interviews, i.e., 60 Minutes, because he does not want to be fact checked. Don't you find that interesting? A guy that says he tells nothing but the truth but gets butthurt when somebody fact check him. And then they say, well, they don't fact check Kamala. Well, because Kamala's not lying, not talking out her ass. You are, and that's why you need to be fact checked. How many of those Marxist books have you memorized in the background? Um, well, I will tell you this. If you could actually define the term Marxist, then I might give you some fucking credit. but you don't know what Marxist means. And you're blocked, by the way, because I don't give a fuck. You don't count. You're inconsequential. How many? Uh, Michael Kevin Jack. He's blocked now. He can't come in here anymore. But if you see him around, tell him to fuck off for me. Everything the Republicans say or claim is a confession. It is projection. They claim all these things against the Democrats. And the ironic thing is they're committing the very crimes that they're complaining about. We need to remind people often about the past stupid things he said. This is a distraction. It's hard to remind people of all the stupid things he says when he does it every fucking day. And every day it gets worse and worse and worse. So, yeah, we remind them, but just wait a minute and Donald Trump will say something else stupid. Geez, how do you get dressed in the morning? Well, I tell you what, you stole my line, and we're going to get rid of your shit right now. All right, another one blocked. You know, it's amazing to me how these Trump-fucks think they're so uh, um, so clever, and they're not clever. Like here's one guy says, "Why no interviews for your girl?" Hey, dumb fuck. She was just on a podcast that caters to 10 million women between the ages of 35 and 18. She was just on 60 Minutes. Your boy bailed on it because he's a pussy ass bitch. Benita says, okay, I think you're doing amazing. Thank you, Benita. I appreciate that. Trump has no soul. Yeah, no shit. Um, it's not like fact checker corrects the truth. Exactly. You guys are aware that Biden's intention was to never run for a second term. Yeah. So I'm going to listen to some fucking clown on TikTok and that somehow you know something. Biden was going to run. He was pushed out by Democrats, of all things. And you guys are upset because you thought, well, if you could get Biden out, then Donald Trump could win. And then along comes Kamala Harris, kicking ass and taking names, and now you're upset about it. Um, I'm sorry, I'm just busy blocking motherfuckers here. Most MAGA are write-offs, hopeless. Yeah, they pretty much are. You got to write them off. How much are they paying you? Look, motherfucker, if the Democrats wanted to pay me to tell the truth, I'd take their money. But trust me, they aren't paying me. And that's a lame fucking argument. I hear it all day, every day. How much are they paying you? Shut up. How much are they paying you to be stupid? Charlize says, I don't understand why MAGA comes in to just troll. Well, I'll tell you this, Charlize. These fucks can't build their own platform. They can't get attention because, as I told you before, they're inconsequential. They're not very bright. Nobody cares about them. So they jump in on other people's platforms like mine and other people like me to try to make noise, try to create chaos. But you can't do that because we block your shit. Um, Somebody says, don't know how to block for yourself. I know how to block for myself. I've blocked probably 20 people by now, bitch. You're on fire, Mike. Keep it up. Thank you. Block me. Block me, please. Well, I'm a people pleaser. So you're blocked, bitch. You know, on the podcast, and I will say this TikTok live will be the Rational Boomer podcast for tomorrow. So if you haven't heard the whole live, you can get the whole live on the podcast. If you've never listened to the podcast, you should. I have guests on there. We talk about a lot of shit. We talk every day. The podcast is every day, and all you have to do is go to YouTube, look for Rational Boomer. The podcast is there. So are all the TikToks. Or you go to Spotify for the audio version of the podcast, and it's there. So please, by all means, check it out. One of my sons is for Trump. He's an intelligent person, so I can't understand why. I can't explain it. I know people who are Trump-fucks, and I can't tell you any of them are very bright. There's something mentally wrong there if you follow a man who's as big a failure as Donald Trump. If you need a Jane Doe case testimony, hold on. I try to fact check the MAGA lies to my conservative family. Nothing works, won't see the truth. No, you can't win. It's just not worth it. Can President and Congress add more Supreme Court justices to dilute the 6-3 ratio? Yeah, they can. There's going to have to be some things done. They might have to get rid of the filibuster, but it can and it will probably be done once Kamala is president. I love your post and podcast. You're the first person I look to here. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. There's a lot of other people out here that do the same thing I do that are also very good. Um, I'm surprised Magda isn't upset with Fox Entertainment fact checking Trump on the air. I'm sure they are. I'm sure they're upset. They're constantly mad. There's two things that Trump fucks are. They're mad and they're scared. Can you address the 60-minute segment about the election denier? Bush. Have no fucking clue what you're talking about. I did watch the 60 minutes and I don't even know what you mean by Bush. This isn't about Bush. Bush hasn't been president for what, 16, 17 years? I had one person tell me Forbes is a lib rag when I tried to fact check them. That's what they're going to say. Oh, if it doesn't say what I want it to say, it's a libtard. Denise says, I love your podcast too. Thank you very much. I can't wait to vote on the first day of early vote to vote for Harris Walls. I think a lot of us feel that way. Um, you think Kamala will carry North Carolina? I do. I do think she will. Donald Trump still hasn't taken back his endorsement of that piece of shit lieutenant governor who's running for governor. That's what he should have done, but he doesn't do it because he has no balls. With all the damage and tragedy going on in North Carolina, they can say that Bush, you got me fucking saying Bush. Biden, they're saying Biden is doing nothing, which isn't true, and the people of North Carolina do it. They're going to listen to Donald Trump and realize he's a pathological fucking liar and not working in their best interest. Yeah, I think he will lose. I think he will lose the North Carolina. Will Kamala win by a landslide? I think that's definitely possible. I really do. I've tried to couch it a little bit by saying that she will win by a decisive amount. She'll win by a lot. Whether it will be classified as a landslide or not, I'm not sure. But I think that's certainly possible. Let's see here. Do you think she went by more than 300 electoral votes? Yeah, I do. I think she'll win by Biden won by more than 300 electoral votes. Well, he had more than 300 electoral votes. I haven't seen Rubio in TV helping the hurricane response. What an embarrassment for Floridians. Yeah, Marco Rubio's kind of a pussy ass bitch too. We need to get rid of him. He's been nothing but worthless. Little Marky Rubio, as Donald Trump would call him. I think he was on the um, Jeep Man says, um, don't use the word couch. Well, I tell you what, don't tell me what the fuck to do. You're gone. Trump will win the electoral. No, he won't. He didn't win it last time. He won't win it this time. Donald Trump hasn't won anything, and neither has any of his endorsements won anything since 2016. Benita says, I think you're absolutely amazing. I'm not amazing. I'm just a guy with an attitude, an old man with an attitude sitting talking shit. Kip time. How could people vote for Trump despite all his lies? I don't know. It just baffles me that people can possibly do this. The realist Morning Star, we need a mandate. I agree. It's one thing for Kamala to beat him, but she needs to beat him big to send the message to Republicans, to Trumplafucks, that you need to be done with Donald Trump. And Donald Trump needs to experience an embarrassment. We need that for closure for this country for the last 8 years that we've been dealing with his bullshit. Oh, man. Get so tired of Trumplafucks. If I'm blocking this many, I can't imagine what Great Captain and TJ are doing. They're like cockroaches. They're just all over the place. All right, another one blocked. Ah, I love doing the lives. I hate Trumplafucks. Where in the country do you live? Is that a threat? I live in Minnesota. If you want to stop by, I'm there. But I'm not there now. I'm in Georgia for a time. I'm going back home on Thursday. So, not hard to find. Bush refuses to hold Trump accountable for January 6th. He said he doesn't want to place blame on anyone. Yeah, George W. Bush is an embarrassment. We got to remember who George W. Bush was. At the time he went out of office and Barack Obama took over, in my mind, he was the dumbest president in the history of this country. He left this economy in rubble. Obama fixed it and then handed it to Donald Trump. George W. Bush, I don't even know that he was a real president because Dick Cheney was his vice president and was pretty much running the show. Yeah, who fucking cares what George W. Bush wants to do? My prediction is she's going to have a bare minimum of 5 million more voters than Trump. Here, I'll tell you what I think. Uh, Joe Biden won by 7 million voters over Donald Trump. I think she at least doubles it, if not more. Is the Donald Trump echo chamber that horrible that his cult actually thinks he's going to win? Yeah, I think they're that dumb. Is it, Jesus, is it possible the CIA has intel on his conversations with Putin? I would almost guarantee you he has. And once this is all over and Donald Trump is vulnerable and no longer has any protection, don't be surprised if that comes out. So somebody says, "You're misinformed." Really, motherfucker? Then go away. Go sit in one of your Trumplafuck lives where you got 10 people kissing each other's ass and not knowing fuck all about fuck all. You think he'll freely flee the country? I don't think he can flee the country. You got to remember, he's being guarded by the Secret Service. The Secret Service is, in fact, a law enforcement arm. And if they let him flee the country, then they're going to take some fucking heat. If they are going to let him leave the country, they better go with him, otherwise they're going to end up in jail. Benita says, my mom is a boomer. I'm sure she is voting for Kamala. God, I hope so. Sounds like a bright woman. Boomer, I like you. You tell it like it is. Well, Rita, I try. I try to tell it like it is. It seems like such a rare occurrence in our media these days. Thankfully for TikTok and YouTube and these other places, there are people, not just me, there's other people telling the truth. And it's nice that we can reach a large audience and let them know the truth as opposed to the bullshit that you have to listen to in the mainstream media. Lloyd says if he comes to Canada, he's a convicted felon. He'll be arrested. Fuck, you can't go to Canada if you have a DUI. He ain't getting into Canada. Mike, I'm 60-year-old black man from Jamaica. I like you because we have, I'm assuming you're saying we have similar ideas. Well, thank you very much, sir. It is, Boomer. They lied and feed misinformation. Thinking about Barbara Bush, I don't think she'd approve of anything about Trump. I guarantee you she wouldn't. And I don't think George H.W. Bush would. And I know Ronald Reagan would, whether you like Ronald Reagan or not. And I question him a lot because I think a lot of our troubles today track back to Ronald Reagan. But Ronald Reagan would even be pissed off about Donald Trump just because of the ignorance of the Republican Party to continue to follow this absolute fucking joke. Yeah, Barbara Bush wouldn't stand for that shit. I'm surprised she stood for her kid. My dad is 83 and voting for Kamala. I think Kamala got a lot of new older voters today. Did you hear the Republicans are constantly saying that Kamala never gives specifics about her policies, which is ironic because Donald Trump has zero fucking policies. Kamala made a statement today of what she wants to do. She wants to expand Medicare to cover home care for elderly folks. And I think this is a brilliant idea. I mean, what happens to elderly folks when they can't take care of themselves anymore and their families got jobs and families of their own? What do? They put them in a nursing home. Once they get into the nursing homes then drain them of all their dignity by taking all their money, all their property, and they put them in a shitty room and treat them badly. Not all of them, of course, but a lot of them do. If you've had all your money taken and you can't afford a great nursing home, then you're stuck in something that's less than adequate. Kamala is saying, well, let's let these people stay home and keep their dignity a while longer. And and I think it's a wonderful thing. And people who are elderly now should be listening to that and following that and feeling good about it because that's an absolute brilliant move. And then people will say, well, how are you going to afford it? Well, she's going to afford it by continuing to negotiate the prices on prescriptions and get them down where they should be, as opposed to what these pharmaceutical companies are doing and gouging the fuck out of us. Um, Person says mainstream media has failed us. Yeah, you think? Not just Fox. I'm talking MSNBC, I'm talking CNN, I'm talking OAN, I'm talking all of them. They're not in business to report the news like it once was. They're in business to hype you up so that you continue to watch so they make money. And that is not the way it should go. Ellen's Melon says your vocabulary is so spicy. I love it. Yeah, it's a little spicy. Um, and I know it puts some people off, but this is fucking me. This is how I talk. I decided when I came on TikTok, I'm just going to be me, warts and all. And people can like it or they might not like it, but I'm just going to be me because that's hard to find in the media, people being who they truly are. What's your take on the electoral BS? I don't think Kamala will have a problem winning the electoral college. I think she's going to get such a mandate, such a great number of votes that all the fucking around they want to do isn't going to help. And then I think after Kamala gets into office, I think there's going to be an effort to get rid of the electoral college because it's antiquated and it's archaic and it's bullshit. I'm a boomer also. Thank you so much for all your info and your streams. Well, thank you for paying attention. Um, they didn't revoke his passport. I don't think they have revoked his passport. And I think that largely has to do with him being a former president. People walk on eggshells. They pamper this piece of shit because he's a former president. But once he's no longer the candidate after November 5th, I think that shit's going to stop. I'm so worried about the election. Carrie, don't worry about the election. Things are in hand and Kamala can't lose. I've made predictions before, and generally I'm right. And the reason I'm right isn't because I'm so smart or have some psychic abilities. It's because of the way I look at things. Too often people get caught up in the emotions. They get fearful. They listen to bullshit from other people, from media. When I look at these things, I get rid of any fear. I'm not afraid. And I get rid of the bullshit. Then I look at the facts. And if you look at the facts, everything about this situation says Kamala wins and wins big. Icona says, you're going to be upset real soon. No, motherfucker, you're going to be upset. You're going to be crying and whining and making up excuses. Oh, he really won. No, he didn't win. He didn't win in 2020, and he's not going to win in 2024. I got to tell you, when after November 5th, when Kamala wins, I swear to God, I'm just going to do videos where I tag MAGA or Donald Trump or any of these other Trump fucks and just laugh in your faces because you're absolute jokes. And then after that, as I said, you're inconsequential. You just don't matter anymore. Do people in Georgia know Trump is lying about the hurricane? I'm sure they do. I mean, I haven't talked to anybody about it here, but I'm in Savannah, which is a pretty blue area. So most people in Savannah don't like the motherfucker anyway. Thank you for your platform. Thank you, Rap. I tried to get here earlier. I was outside whipping up a thunderstorm. Yeah. I'm a boomer also, have no idea what you're talking about. Well, here's the thing. While I'm a boomer, I am a young boomer. So I kind of go along the lines of some Gen X too. Um, but the fact that you're an older boomer that might be a Trumplefuck and that you have no idea of what I'm talking about or anything that's going on in this world does not fucking surprise me. I can talk shit about boomers because I'm a boomer, and I know there are a lot of boomers that are dipshits, but there's a lot more coming over to the light side from the dark side and realizing what's going on here. You want to follow a loser? That's up to you. Do you feel confident about Kamala's momentum? Absolutely feel confident about it, no question. What makes you think people like Kamala? Do I even have to fucking answer that? Jesus Christ. I always agree with everything you say, fellow boomerette. Thank you very much, Catherine. Age doesn't dictate your ability to think and be rational usually. I agree. 1962 here. I'm 1960. Mike, I'm 60-year-old black man from Jamaica. You have similar personalities like you. Give MAGA hell. Yeah, fuck MAGA. Gen X here. Hi from New Zealand. I'm so anti-Trump. The world is hoping Kamala Harris wins. I mean, that's what people have to understand. People ask me, what are people around the country or around the world thinking about this? Donald Trump thinks he's well liked around the world. He's much hated around the world. And people in other countries are terrified at the prospect that he might win, and they get a lot of the media information and they don't know the truth and all the facts about what's going on. And they are worried because they know that when Donald Trump gets to be president, which he's not, but if he were, that would trickle down to them and hurt them as well. It's not going to happen. Don't worry about it. Why do you think make all those maggots on your live right now? Why do I think? Because they're butthurt. They don't have a platform of their own and they got to try to get their message out. They're usually not very bright, not very articulate, and they can't build a platform of their own. So they come here and try to send their message. But the problem is they're so fucking stupid. The vast majority of people in this live are people that support Kamala Harris. Just as much as I can't convince a Trump-fuck that they're stupid, you're certainly not going to convince anybody who supports Kamala Harris to vote for Donald Trump. I'm a middle of the road boomer, born in 55. Good to see you. I'm a boomer. I don't know right from wrong. Good for you. What do you think, Georgia governor and DJT's relationship? I think it's sketchy. I think um, the governor here has to play along because he's a Republican. Now they should know better than that, but I think that's pretty much what he's doing, playing along because he's a Republican. But Donald Trump has gone after the governor here, and I don't think they like each other. I think you're going to find a lot of people after Donald Trump loses, they're going to stand up and say, "Yeah, I never liked him." Well, fuck you. The stink of Donald Trump will remain on you for eternity, as far as I'm concerned. Because the first person who was a Trump fuck fan comes to me and says, "Yeah, I never liked him anyway." I'm going to expose them for who they are and what they did, because what they've done by supporting Donald Trump is inexcusable. There is no forgiveness for these fucks. You tried to destroy this country, and we can no longer trust you. How do we ensure mail ballots will be protected in these states with hurricanes? Well, that's a good question. I don't know, especially when you're talking about Florida. Florida has many issues. I'm sure there are ways to do this. We're still a month out from the election, so this hurricane will go through and they'll try to recoup here. But yeah, that could be a problem. I just don't know to what extent. But you have to understand it will also affect the Republicans just as much as it's going to affect the Democrats. Mahad says, good to see you, my friend. Are you back home in Minnesota? No, I'm in Savannah, Georgia currently. I'm going back on Thursday. And then I'm coming back to Savannah on Sunday and then coming back to Minnesota the following Thursday. So I'm going to be bopping around all over the motherfucking place. Um, I'm a very informed boomer. Well, good for you, Jan. Oh, wow. Sonny Upton says 41060 here. I want Trump in with Diddy so Diddy can diddly Don. Well, Sonny, I got news for you. You're 41060. I'm 41660. So you're 6 days older than me, but we're close. We're of the same realm. Mike Golden, I'm 68 and a proud boomer and a Democrat. Thank you very much, Mike. I'm 73 and a supporter, supporting Harris until this disaster and her lack of support. What the hell is going on with Elon's brain? He totally went off the rails. He did. He kind of went all in and now he's losing and now he's flailing. And he does stupid shit when he does that. 1958 here. Good to see you. Guess what makes me an older boomer? A lot of boomers out there. Gen Xer from Minnesota, Tater Tot. Good to see you, Tater Tot. Won't a Republican Senate cause Kamala issues? Well, it's not going to help her, but I just don't think that you're going to get a Republican Senate. Um, yeah, any kind of Republican control is going to give headaches to a Democratic president. We've seen it in the past. That's why it's important that we not only vote for Kamala Harris, but vote the down ballot too and make sure Congress is on her side in order um, she can get some things done. Benita says, first time on your live, loving it. Thank you, Benita. I appreciate it. 61 boomer, 57 boomer. We got a lot of boomers out there. Good to see, good to hear from you. Republicans are going to vote blue. Trust me, they are fed up. Yeah, I tend to agree. There are a lot of Republicans that will vote for Kamala Harris because they're absolutely embarrassed by Donald Trump. He's a fucking joke. Everything he does and says is absolutely ridiculous. Let's see here. We're getting down toward the end here. I'm going to wrap things up here shortly. Trump is so hated and we're scared even in New Zealand. Yeah, I know. People in other countries are just as worried about Donald Trump winning. So I feel you here. MAGA supporters are trying to keep Trump out of jail by voting for him. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. We need Arizona too, absolutely. And I think they will get Arizona. I think he's seriously having a psychotic break and scared of the SEC investigation. Donald Trump's whole life has been about fear. As a narcissist, in spite of the way he talks, he is immensely insecure. That's how narcissists are. And he's terrified. Trust me. Vikings doing great this season, 5-0. I can't wait to see the Vikings keep winning. Well, I hope they do. The last half, they didn't look that great, but they were able to hang on, thankfully, because they've got a good defense. Arizona in play. There are many people on the ground working every day. Yeah, I know there is. Republicans voting for Harris need to vote blue down ballot. Absolutely. I read that Eric Trump is now a sheriff in Florida. Maybe as an honorary sheriff, but that motherfucker I thought was living in New York because that's where his company is. He's running Donnie Trump's company. I think there are a lot of Republicans that say they're voting for Trump, but will vote for Kamala. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, that's one thing the Trump fucks have done. They put the fear of God in people. If you don't support our God, Lord and Savior, we're coming after you. Well, Trump is in Reading, Pennsylvania tomorrow, dirtiest city in the country. I don't know that that's the case, but it's not surprising. Donald Trump is kind of focused on Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia. He knows he's in trouble in all these other states, and he thinks this is his only chance. This is what Donald Trump is doing. He's flailing right now. He's in trouble, and he knows he's in trouble. So he's going to try to pull out anything he can possibly pull out. Um, TJ the Plumber reminding you to listen to the Rational Boomer podcast. This live will be the podcast for tomorrow. And you can get the Rational Boomer podcast on YouTube, the video version of it, or you can go to Spotify for the audio version, or anywhere you get podcasts. You can go any of the apps that you use to get podcasts. Just look for Rational Boomer, and it'll come up, and you'll be able to find it. Mailed my vote in this week in Philadelphia. Way to go, Liz. He's coming to Aurora, Colorado, where I live, telling lies about Venezuela gangs and whatever else. Yeah, no doubt. You can guarantee that he's going to be fucking lying because that's all he does. OC Beach Lady, I honestly don't understand how Trump is still alive after all this stress. I agree with you, OC. I said early on in this 2 years that I wouldn't be surprised if neither Biden or Donald Trump was the candidate. While I was right about Biden, I was surprised by that whole situation. But I thought the same thing. I didn't think Donald Trump could ride out the stress and strain that he's going through. I mean, he was successful in delaying some of this stuff, but it's still going to come down on his head. And you would have to think that that is a little troubling, other than the fact that he's mentally incompetent and he's delusional. And maybe he doesn't realize how much trouble he's in. That's possible. Mrs. Toast, thanks for doing a live tonight. Enjoy your stay in Savannah. Always enjoy my stay in Savannah. We have a place here and we come down to visit, try to do it every month if we can. I'm also a boomer. Yvonne, 71460. What's up? And I hope he does. Gosh, I will be glad when this is all over. Yeah, it will be nice when it's all over. It's been a lot of stress and strain and chaos for us to deal with. We just have to ride out about 28, 27 more days, and then we'll be done with this bullshit finally. I hope that Mar-a-Lago, whatever, it floods. Oops, I didn't say that. Okay. Yeah, well, Mar-a-Lago could get hit in this whole situation because it's going to be coming across, Milton will be coming across Florida, and that may be in the path. Savannah says, I don't think he'll ever go to jail, though. Well, Savannah, I think you're wrong. We talked about that earlier. The crimes he's committed can only end up with jail time, regardless of who Donald Trump is. And once the election is over, he has no protection. Why is no one interviewing the FEMA whistleblower purged during the Trump administration? Well, I tell you what, happy girl, there's a lot of shit that needs to be investigated. It's almost too much to even fucking deal with, just trying to deal with Donald Trump in this election. I think once the election is done, we will see a lot of those things coming to fruition. Sun Devil says, rational boomer for president. No, you don't want me as president. I wouldn't be a good politician. I don't listen to shit. I don't like boring meetings. I'm not very diplomatic, and I would be sent out on a rail sometime shortly afterwards. See, that's the thing is if you're going to be a politician, you have to be able to play the game, and I'm just not capable of that. I won't play the game, and because of that, I'm better off on the outside stirring shit as opposed to being on the inside and being part of the problem. They shouldn't be able to do business in New York considering the fraud case that he's in. Absolutely. Eric Trump doesn't have an IQ to run jack shit. Yeah, I'd have to agree. Eric is not the brightest. He's probably the smartest of all of them, which isn't saying much. Trump runs only on fear mongering, no substance. What do you think of Bannon's next plan is? First of all, get the fuck out of jail just before the election, and then plan on getting indicted because he was part of that insurrection. Do you think he'll flee? No, I don't think he'll flee. The Secret Service will stop him. They're a arm of law enforcement. If they let him go, they're in fucking trouble. My girlfriend was a Republican, but is now independent. She dislikes Trump too. Well, good for her. She's a keeper. Hold on to that one. Trump wants to deport 20 million. Who's going to rebuild the hurricane damaged homes? Trump ain't going to do shit because he can't win. The idea that he's talking about um, it's just not going to happen. Hold on a second. Derek says, "You're not the brightest. It's reading Pennsylvania." Well, what you think doesn't matter anymore because you motherfucking gone. How do I get tired of these fucking people? I don't even know what you're saying. We were talking about reading Pennsylvania, and I was wrong because I said reading Pennsylvania. Fuck you. Don't need it. Um, I'm not sure he'll win in Pennsylvania. I don't think he will. We're in deep shit with MAGA. The cult life is scary. Um, it's over for MAGA. Trust me. After November 5th, they're going to be around. They're going to be kicking and acting like idiots, but their power is done. Midas Touch put out that Eric is a deputy sheriff. Yeah, and he's going to be a fucking cowboy for Halloween too. He will declare victory long before counts over election night. Yeah, he will. Um, he will, but it won't matter because he doesn't have the power that he once has. It's ridiculous. Analytical Iowan says Tuesday's podcast was great, if I do say so myself. Well, it was a great podcast, and not surprising that Analytical Iowan would say that because he was the guest on the podcast. He's Eric from Iowa. If you haven't checked that one out, you may want to do it. Eric knows his shit, and it's always great to have him on the show. Cat Lady Brady, with the destruction in North Carolina, do you think it affected more Democrats or Republicans with the power? I'm not sure. I don't think the destruction there is going to affect the election, other than the fact they'll see that Biden and Kamala are doing everything and Donald Trump isn't doing jack shit, and their lieutenant governor is a huge pile of shit. Um, let's see here. I knew you weren't a Trump guy just from the background. The fuck does that mean? I knew you weren't a Trump guy. Have you never seen me? I've been doing this for 4 years. Is it up for question as to whether I like Donald Trump? Do I look like a dumb fuck? Because I'd have to be a dumb fuck to like Donald Trump. People receiving their ballots, that's good. Funny how you're telling people he's still alive. You part of the problem. Didn't I block this motherfucker? I swear to God I blocked this motherfucker. Yeah, he's blocked. He just this is some old dude, you're so wrong. How does it feel to be so uninformed? Oh, wait, you haven't a clue. Well, Chuck, if you're talking about not having a clue, why are you on this live? You can't build a platform of your own, so you have to come in here and make a fool out of yourself. And trust me, you have made a fool out of yourself. So if you're cool with being a joke, that's fine. And now after doing that, I'm going to have to wrap up this rush hour because that little whiny bitch is going to go run to TikTok and say he's mean to me. So I'm going to wrap up this TikTok live. I want to thank you for joining me. I'll be doing some more lives sometime soon. So stick around and thank you very much. All right, we're out of the live. Oh, there were some Trumplafucks out there. I hate those motherfuckers so bad. Anyway, it was a good, lively round. A lot of questions, a lot of comments, a lot of Trumplafucks. Hate to see that. But we are going to wrap up the Rational Boomer podcast. I want to thank all of you for taking the time to listen. I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.